Qualifier number 2's game 3 is here. And we had a brief discussion about how endgame played out there round after round, but now we get to get into the early game, and our focus is going to be fully on the red line rig, the Grim Gates, and some of these other areas that have been highly contested. Brutal Beachhead being the one from game 1 that had 6 teams here, Taka, if you remember, but it seems like stuff has changed up a bit here.
Yeah, but no hand cannon for Paco this time around means that if there is going to be an early engagement with Paco and Vorteca, we'll have to depend on that shotgun instead, but doesn't seem to be the case. Brutal Beachhead looking relatively clear for the time being, but this is a far way to fly at this point, gliding in, trying to go for that research rock, but Mixon and Blaha seemingly with a very decent out drop here could be disastrous for Quanti, depending on whether or not he's actually able to pick up some floor in advance. But Mixon gets the first couple of tags, tactical assault rifle, doing some work here. He's gonna try to give chase to Quanti. Quanti not even gonna get a chance to loot those chests. Instead, it's gonna be Mixon, Blaha side by side, taking full advantage of the primary spoils. Yapko does have hammer pump. It's a knock exchange. Quanti still trying to confirm it, just needs one more tag to do it, and he finds it. Mixon, Blaha defeated yet again here at Research Rock. And this might be one of the fastest exchanges for time to eliminations yet, and that could bode very well for Quanti and Yapko as far as their mid-game into the late game is concerned.
Not only that, the standings reflecting it as Quanti and Yapko have really done well with the times that they've made it off the drop, and you have to give respect to the fact that he picked up every SMG possible, making the difference there as he didn't have to reload. Very well played. Peterbot and Pollo here just on their early game kind of groove right now. Also a little bit of a change up for their drop. No contest in sight, meaning that they have much more time to go ahead and play some of these outskirts, play for some of the loot routes that they otherwise wouldn't be able to so comfortably, right? It makes a big difference, and standings, I think, are showing that they're having a much better week 2 here, as you didn't even get to see their set lobbies strategy just last week.
Same can't be said, though, here at the Nitrodrome. Kanata inside of the bush currently. He's got the 4x scope on the Hunter's DMR. The problem that Kanata's working with right now, though, he doesn't have a whole lot of ammo to work with. He's got to be very precise with his shots, trying to see if he can have an opportunity to maybe even reunite with Cooper, wager their odds as a duo as opposed to playing so split and separate. Could actually make all the difference there at the Nitrodrome, because we did see at least 2 other teams looking to test them.
Kaz and Rojo right now being very quiet, very sneaky. Trying to see if they can find Rapid and Batman Booga. Rapid and Batman Booga have also had outstanding performances, at least of what we've seen so far out of game 1 and 2. Oh, hesitation. Lost opportunity now for Kaz and Ro here. Might be the last time they get a nice clean lineup like that.
Problem, though, is that Batman Booga maybe still a little bit isolated. In fact, no, it's just going to be 2 separate angles that Rapid and Batman Booga are looking to see if they can potentially split up Kaz and Rojo, but at the same time, where's Bucky and Okus? They were the ones initially contesting Batman Booga and Rapid at their POI, but Grim Gate, new entryways, new teams trying to surface here. Kaz, Rojo, Shieldfish exchange, but again, a gray pump is not exactly ideal in this type of circumstance. You can see a little bit of hesitation here. That hesitation, maybe a slight experience difference. Batman Booga, though, he's got the full advantage. Just taking out pieces of the floor. All these edits seemingly in his favor. Small tags getting clipped Kaz's HP chipped away at. Batman Booga does eat a shot in exchange, though, so will be forced to fall back temporarily. Reconvenes with Rapid, but that could be the exit point now for Kaz and Rojo. Although, sitting out in the open, just trying to see if they can escape with these underworld dashes. It's hard to actually connect any further tags, and Batman Booga at least got the one, so a little bit of surge strategy implemented early on here.
They rotate right into reciprocal G Monster there, so keep a lookout on the feed. Oh, as I say it, there it is. Edgy and Def, though, on the hunt right now. Looking for what's left of the duo that they were fighting here just moments ago. A lot going on here for Edgy and Death. They have been coming up short, so they've taken down Paper, and at least it's a start for them. They need to start getting serious amount of points now if they want to make any kind of dent on the series standings.
Yeah, for Death and Edgy, a lot of their play is going to stem from Cliffside Lodge. That's going to be their initial starting point, so no real surprise that they encountered Paper and Victor a little bit further north at Pantheon Path, but Mount Olympus, if they can control that POI, you have to remember, there's the possibility...
No,
Zooks actually on the chase here, which means Bacon likely not too far behind. Veno trying to be wary of the fact that he is in a 1 versus 2 situation. Fortunately for him, Clicks going to be able to finally provide some cover fire, and that will be the end of this exchange for the time being. Slurp Cacti, though, going to pan out for Zooks' favor, but it's a full fall back. In fact, Bacon and Zooks, they might be the ones in a real trouble now, as a third party has decided to engage. Sandy Steps just continues to heat up, but Virgo and Shadow, they've seemingly got the upper hand currently. They heard those shields crack. They want to see if they can fully chase down Bacon and Zooks.
Shadow is one. Once he starts to fight, he's not leaving. This is gonna go only one way, and that's someone's getting sent back to the lobby here. And so far, Shadow and Virgo do seem to have the offensive intention here to continue to push until they see damage. And there it is. Already Virgo with the side angle there, setting up the distraction. Shadow stepping in now, giving up the focus of the positioning there to jump down onto Bacon's, grabs the walls as well. And he's just so fast with it. A promising player here. Zooks is hurt. Bacon is looking bad. Zones come in here. They don't have time to heal. They have to come down to low ground for any slither of hope with a health cactus or something. Otherwise, this is going to be it. Nope, there it is. Too late. And Virgo finds his eliminations there. And it does seem like shots came in from the distance there as Vino and Clicks are still eyeing things up here. Haven't quite given up focus just yet.
Strong attempt out of Zooks to try and hold his own. Was hoping maybe that Shadow and Virgo would choose to leave after that initial elimination onto Bacon, but you're right, MDF. Those shots from a distance, that is Clicks and Veno essentially forcing Shadow and Virgo. They might have gotten the 2 eliminations, but they're not going to be able to rotate through Sandy Steps. Instead, they're going to have to dip even further into the storm, going fully south, a whole wraparound to Brutal Beachhead, because they know if they try to push any closer towards where Clicks and Veno are positioned, it's just a losing battle. Clicks, Veno, they've already got so much space declared. They've got full leverage as well on some slight elevation, considering that Shadow and Virgo would have to be pushing up from that beach side, but Bacon and Zooks, they were really banking it all on just getting that solo pickoff onto Veno. That is part of the problem when your loop paths are known. Clicks and Veno, they don't try to hide the fact that they play so separated, but Veno did an excellent job at making sure that he didn't go down.
Mason and Hal continuing to just show us how their strategy works out, as they've remained so consistent, getting the tags they need here, rotating on the outskirts, not being too late to find a strong position here. These little things start to add up. Small victories, as we like to call them. Reet with no shield. Ritual left to keep an eye out here on the duo that was putting in shots. So fight for the bunker. Seems like they were just late to try to secure the loot there. And instead of fighting forward, they give it up. They're in first place. They have a lot more to lose than some in this game. Not to mention last week's performance wasn't the greatest like we talked about. So as far as overall series is concerned, they surely want to find themselves in a good spot. Got to continue to play well.
It's hard for Reet and Ritual to try and position for the bunker spawn possibility that's located at Dumpenhausen, because keep in mind, that's Bryce and Bolt's backyard. They love trying to claim that territory because there is also a very strong possibility of a forecast tower in that general vicinity. So, as for where Reet and Ritual decide to go next, definitely seems as though there's some teams kind of trickling in from that north side towards Reckless Railways, and that's why we see Playify higher. They've invested into a slight surge base here, taking shots at the bushes. They know that there's at least one team currently boxing up in wood, not really wanting to expend too many of their hard materials. The bush coverage alone providing them a decent escape point, but they're just going to keep claiming space. This team across the way from Playify and higher, they're not really under too heavy of duress, and honestly, Playify and higher, they might need to be careful here with some of these peaks, because some of those teams that were still filtering in from that northern side, heading into Reckless Railways, they could potentially look to try and get some tags from the backside.
Jump to Kai and Vert here. Oh, and it comes in from Victor in a 1v2 situation, and this is after, meanwhile, this is after Pape was already rebooted and brought back into the game, but no, Victor, why did you let your guard down? He was right on top of him. A small mistake like that's going to cost him the game here. Vert will be able to save his duo here. That brings him up to 3 eliminations. Count the reboot. And that's exactly the points that this team needs here, as they're middling into the competition here. Not a team in sight on the map right now, so should be a successful pickup. Take a look at from Vert's perspective here. Gets the wall, fakes to get up above, misses it, and just says, ah, you know what, might as well go for it. And it was the right decision indeed.
But I like that a lot from Kylie, because running under the stairs in the first place made it so that it was all the easier for Vert to essentially collapse onto Victor. Just could be purely coincidental on DF. Player trying to chase down their ones, but I do think that there is some light tactics involved there as well. But again, going for the reboot over at Mount Olympus could prove to be difficult. Kylie, though, definitely a European player that has been a little bit more under the radar, I think, in comparison to when so many people kind of emphasis all on Tayson, onto Veno, Blaha, Mixon. But Kylie's also someone that I think can't really afford to sleep on by any means. Rift Island currently controlled by Agers and Rise, and claimed as well. Capture point taken over by them.
You can see the surges already giving the warning to the rest of the lobby, so everyone now starting to strategize their position here in the game. For Agers and Rise, there's nothing to worry about. They're above, not hyper comfortable, but enough to at least have time to work with here. Same cannot be said for a fair amount of others here. Playify and higher, playing the outskirts, zone, creeping in slowly. They have controlled this spot right here, and it seems like there's a 2v1 happening just above here, and higher's got all attention on it. Oh, maybe they don't know there's a player in the bush there. Okay, pay attention. There it is. They do end up spotting him out. Playify and higher now start to draw their focus in that direction. There's another fight happening just below, so A lot of action going on here. They have decisions and options. Booga and threats, Epic and Aviv on the side. Then it's Cam under pressure with a Minish, and Noah plays. Noah plays by himself here. And instead they find it Minish first. And that's going to be the elimination that's going to set them up for success here. And although, like we said, the surge turns off, they still need this damage for the back half of this game here.
Cam and a Minish, though, just getting beatboxed between two separate teams. Playify, a nice side jump tag with the threats above, but trying to be a little bit wary here. Wants to make sure that he's fully charged up as far as his shields are concerned. Only one shield potion left, though, aside from the small shields. Aviv and Booga from afar. Epic thought he was in a slightly safe position, but beautifully played by Aviv. Just jumps right on top of his noggin. No real opportunity there for the 6th time to escape. And that might be the break that Aviv and Booga needed as well, because again, a team that loves to play through the dead side, but they will have some company from behind. Playify and Higher still lingering, so it's not completely out of the woods just yet as far as Booga and Aviv are concerned. They could get caught up even at Restored Reels. Looks like there's already 2 teams in an exchange, so they're probably going to just try to rotate a little bit west of all that action taking place. Don't want to afford to waste too much time in those awkward positions.
I like this fight right here for Hound and Mason. Instead of waiting for them to get below the surge, as I literally say that, they fall below, so they also recognize this is pretty dangerous for us to be in here. Once you've seen that you're only 150 or so above, you kind of know at that point, you know, you're not safe by any means. The surge is online, so they're getting damaged. And I'm just curious, where or why hasn't Mason just put in a lot of shots right here, because Hound is starting to really run out of time. They've lost the momentum here. They're going to be forced to fully give it up, and this is not good. This is really not good for Hound now. Great trade there, at least finding some type of damage to keep his duo alive, but it's a sacrifice if I've ever seen one, and Mason jumps right into the storm. He needs his teammate to drop the med kit or something. Where is it? Too late. Can't get the read off fast enough, and Mason falls there. And it was just a misplay for Hound and Mason, and the first mistake that we've seen from that duo now, and their worst performance here for the second qualifier just unfolded.
Sometimes you can't help when the panic hits, when you see yourself underneath that surge threshold, but Tahi at least making sure that they've got an extended lifeline into this third lobby. Still going to be a relatively tough rotate to make, though, because just look at all of these teams already pulling into Restored Reels. A couple of Surge Showers enabled as well. Reet and Ritual feeling very confident with where they've just glided into. They're actually going to invest hard material very early on, but they've got ample amount of builds to boot, so now it's going to come down to how well they can try to bottleneck the rest of these players on their rotates. But they are relatively center this current zone.
And you know what? I like that positioning because they have enough damage to get away from this southern cluster where, like, Vino and Click should also not be here at all. Luckily, there's no pressure on them at the moment as they have options to choose from here, with the focus being onto Pink and Miro there. Pink down and taken out to the hands of N-Pen, the elimination credit being awarded there. But Vino and Clicks definitely have no business being here. And this is what's going to happen, though. You see teams just jumping in on them.
Really thought for a moment that Reciprocal and G-Money were going to go for that exchange up against Veno and Clicks, but the fact that Veno doesn't get credit for Pink, despite landing a relatively large body tag, kind of insane. Still looking to see if he can find his first elimination in this lobby. You can tell, though, despite not having any elims, Veno and Clicks, they're still almost 500 above that damage threshold. And in fact, Veno, he's got the highest damage to elim ratio of any player so far today. He's dealt about the 8th most damage overall, and yet only has 1 elimination throughout the course of these several lobbies so far to show for it. So He's been investing damage for other players to essentially get full value from. That's not his own.
Yeah, it's so hard to realize that, right? Like on the standings, when you're not getting the elimination credit, those are 4 points just disappearing essentially. G-Monster and Reciprocal have just remained in conversation game after game, fighting so many notable duels, I should say, and giving them a real run for their money, and they somehow stay alive right now. And all that hard-earned effort has them at 48 points here. Placement points starting to come through now, but they are below the surge. Riding the coast here is not going to go well for them much longer, as there's so many other teams already positioned up. There goes shots coming in from in front. Surge as well, of course, being the looming issue here. And I wonder if Death and Edgy are going to catch wind of what's happening underneath them.
All of their heals, though, invested. One build left exactly here for G-Money. It has to be the most precise pump shot of his life, and that's only if Death and Edgy have even stuck around for it. In fact, they've already rotated off. Yeah, long gone. They're not going to get caught out. Cooper and Kanata, though, another one of our teams where we wouldn't necessarily anticipate them to be struggling as much as they have been with the surge threshold so far today, but they got to be careful. G-Monster, full desperation, trying to key onto their wall. Cooper and Kanata, they got other players on the other side, but they will be successful in eliminating G-Money to start with. Just above that damage threshold, but they have no heals to work with. It is all down to just running for their lives into zone.
Yeah, and this is about as bad as we've seen Kanata position in a tournament right now. 3 games in, 38 points. You don't expect it from the likes of a team like a Cooper and Kanata, who we've seen really stand consistent up at the top of the standings. But hold up, Vino's got trouble here. It's up to Clicks right now. Tahi is very much hurt, and the thirst comes in, so Tahi really wanted those points there. It's going to be an eye for an eye here as Clicks, oh no, actually gets the elimination credit sniped by another player, so no points rewarded for him there. All that effort taken away from him, nothing to show for it.
Just barely managing to wiggle away, though. He does at least have 2 more med kits remaining and a full Flowberry Fizz, so he won't be as bad off as he could have been heading into this next zone. But again, in a sea of duos, when you are the lone player, that's bound to make you a target. If anybody spots him out, he's likely going to try to hover more towards the backside of the zone. Booga dropped on the low ground. Peterbot and Pollo right behind him. And Peterbot, Pollo, it doesn't look like they were satisfied with just being the reigning FNCS champs of NA from last season. They want to keep that train going. They are far from washed, and they want to prove it. Controlling the low ground, Mordecai ripped to pieces. And Peterbot, Pollo, they have so much space claimed currently.
I really wanted to see how the layers are starting to work out now, because we see what's happening here on the low ground. We know that high ground really hasn't been highly contested, and for some lack of reason or another, the mid ground, there's this big spacing, right, starting to take place here. Game after game is just so evident that once you take high ground, it's almost like it's yours to keep. Very few teams have decided to start focusing up. Peterbot and Pollo being one of the few that likely will end up turning their focus further and further to the top now, as they fought their way off the low ground. They have too much resources not to, essentially, is what it comes down to.
Peterbot even dropping that Machinist Medallion. Pollo already back to 75 shield. Sphinx, again, can't hold these walls. That mythic combat assault rifle, such a rapid fire rate, so difficult to deal with, especially in such a close range territory. Batman Booga, though, scrambling towards that ultimate low ground. He's got Cease and Jack at a corner underneath them, but he won't even get a chance to look down. He's got players up above. See these floor edits come through. Next thing you know, it's a massive tag after the fact. And everybody doing what they can to just try and survive. But Peterbot, Pollo, You called it, MDF. It was only a matter of time. They just had to pick their moment. And it's a luxury that they were offered, considering how well off their loadouts have been throughout the course of playing the low ground.
Yeah, it just makes sense. They had everything that they needed. And then this is another team I wanted to highlight here. Re and Ritual continue to run up the elimination lead here. Another 6 added to the bucket for them. They are just claiming names at this point. Who haven't they taken out is really the question, because they have been on a tear and they haven't looked back. Rapid finally falls there, not after, of course, earning a ton of reward for placement points here. And it is exactly how it should be. Reed and Ritual on the ultimate low ground. Peterbot and Pollo on the high ground, working their way down. 2v2v2 situation. Actually, no, there's 2 solos in between the 2 layers here. Okay, those are points to be claimed, but shots come in from above, and they just get melted down. Pollo and Peterbot clean up house here, and the cliff claims its toll there, forcing everyone into the bullets of the high ground duo.
That was just such a smooth transition from where we saw Peterbot and Pollo just tarping so freely through the low ground, picking off solos and duos alike. And then, right when teams least expect it, they head up to the high ground with all of those materials. Perfect kind of loadout, MDF, and the rest is history. It's just a victory royale, simple as could be from there.
Let's run it back one more time from Peterbot and Pollo's perspective. Like we said, they started way down on the low ground, somehow clean up that entire layer, and then say, you know what, we want a little bit more. They start fighting their way straight up and run through Sphinx before, of course, claiming the high ground. You can see here, this is what I was talking about, that cliff, forcing players to try to find a way around it. It was inevitable that Peterbot and Pollo were going to win the game there, Taco, and just like that, they take game number 3 in strong fashion. They are back like they never left at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it was only a matter of time, right? That's what we all like to believe, at least. But as far as the impact across the board, as far as the leaderboard is concerned, we'll get a moment to check in on that right after the short break.